So, I am sure you have heard about Andromeda, Facebook's newest algorithm update. In this video, I just wanted to discuss my experience with using the new Andromeda framework. I'll take you guys through, real life case studies in actual ad accounts. But I wanted to start off with just very quickly explaining what Andromeda is, just for those who may not know. So I might put this in the description. This is straight from Meta. This is like Meta documentation, engineering at Meta. It just discusses how the actual Meta Andromeda update works. What I'll do is I'll just scroll down to this illustration here, which explains it quite well. So basically, this new Andromeda update, how it functions is, um, Meta invested billions of dollars in NVIDIA chips. It's really investing into AI, and it wants the algorithm to pretty much leverage AI to the best of its ability. And how it does that is it pretty much goes and based off your creative, will find individuals across Facebook or Meta channels who resonate with those particular creatives, right? So here you can kind of see it, that these are the users, these are the creatives in a way, and then it will go and it will kind of start to put two and two together and say, okay, this person who kind of has these behaviors or characteristics um, kind of responds well to this type of creative, right? And it kind of starts to build that profile, and it realizes, okay, basically this type of demographic of person who has a very similar profile will most likely resonate the best with this particular creative, right? And then over time, it will start to put kind of more pieces of the puzzle together and say, okay, X type of person likes to see this particular ad first, and then this ad, and then they may convert, right? So within your ad set, you'll have like 5 to 10 ads, and it'll kind of start to build out a funnel. And then this is kind of, what happens. It starts to say, okay, this particular user wants to see ads in this sequence, and then it starts to kind of continue to build out this ideal sequence for each type of user profile. It's pretty complex, to be honest. Like it sounds, I think it sounds pretty crazy, and it is. Like the fact that the algorithm's gotten that strong is crazy, right? So that's how it works. I think in summary, the main takeaway is that what used to be a thing 5 years ago of interest targeting is now no longer a thing, right? And what Meta wants you to do is Meta wants you to use broad targeting. It doesn't want you to put any targeting, any interest targeting. It doesn't want you to put anything. It just wants you to keep the ad set targeting broad, and then it wants you to put like 10, at least 10 creatives within an ad set, ideally with creative diversification. So you actually put thought into, all right, I'm going to include this particular creative in this asset, and then this creative as well, and each creative kind of serves a different part of the funnel, right? So this is more of a top of funnel creative, and this is more of a bottom funnel creative, right? So it wants you to have that diversification, and then Meta will go and basically find your ideal customer based off what your particular creative is about. So the algorithm knows, okay, this ad is talking about shoes, so therefore let's go and find people who are interested in shoes, right? Like that's how it pretty much works. So that's basically Andromeda. As I said, I'll link this in the description if you haven't read through the details of the algorithm. It's a good read. But I want to get into now a use case scenario, right? So I've tested this new format, and a lot of people at least what I've seen online are kind of talking about this update more from a e-commerce perspective, right? So, but I don't see a lot of people talking about it from more of like a lead gen perspective, or B2B perspective, right? So this particular example that I'm going to show you is actually a B2B lead gen example client, right? So it works in that for that type of business as well, which is pretty crazy. So first of all, I just want to show you exactly kind of what we're looking at before I get into the ad account, right? So this is just looking at data across the entire year, and I'm going to show you exactly where I started to see the improvement in overall performance, and then I'll kind of explain how Meta has contributed to that uplift, right? So we will be focusing on Australia in this example. And what I want to show you is the cost per MQL. It's the main thing. And you can see the cost per MQL was 34, 31. It was sitting around this $30 mark. And then it was around September, August, where I introduced this new meta structure within this new Andromeda structure in the Meta Ads platform, right? So pretty substantial decrease in MQL, right? We're talking about like $31 to now, sub 20. That's huge. That's a significant decrease. That's like $10. It's more than $10, right? So this isn't like a few dollars. This is, pretty big. So with that in mind, what I want to show you first is the organic lift, right? So the organic lift going into HubSpot, right? So I don't know why I can't see him anymore, but anyway, the HubSpot uplift is pretty substantial, right? And it's around August where I implemented this new structure. So, Google Direct MQLs aside, right? We're looking at just organic search. You can see significant uplift, right? And I'm going to explain why we can't look at paid social, direct, directly attributed conversions or MQLs in this scenario, because how Meta works, it doesn't happen like that. Unfortunately, HubSpot struggles to attribute it directly to that particular channel, which I'll explain shortly. So I forgot to explain it later in the video. Basically, the reason why HubSpot finds it quite challenging to attribute meta conversions or MQLs to Meta is just because of attribution models, right? So Meta uses 7-day click or 1-day view, and because a conversion that occurs through Meta isn't typically linear. It's not like someone clicks the ad and then converts straight away. They may click through your ad and then, within a 7-day window, they may then come back later and then convert maybe 5 days later, or it's a view through conversion and they don't click through your ad, they see your ad and then they navigate organically through or Google Organic and then convert, because it's just quite it's quite a complex journey when someone sees your ad through Meta first. HubSpot just really finds it difficult, and that's why it's good to use organic search as a proxy, right? And seeing, okay, was there an uplift in organic search conversions, or in this scenario, MQLs, because, that whole entire process or journey that I just explained, a lot of the time it ends up with someone eventually coming through organic search if they saw your ad via Meta. So that's why we're looking at organic search here, but also to make it even more simple, just look at top line, everything which I showed early in the video, and you could see cost per MQL decreasing over time. So back to the main part of the video. But the point is organic search has seen a significant uplift in line with us introducing this new structure. So that's kind of the macro, that's the evidence around what we've seen and what we're zooming into this particular period. Now I'm going to go into Facebook and I'm going to show you exactly what this looks like, right? So I'm going to first start off with looking at June to August. And these are the old campaigns. So this is just like the old structure, prospecting plus remarketing. That's That's what I had here, right? So you can see that across this specifics and across this time range or period, we had a cost per click of roughly $4.46. We had a click-through rate of around 6, I'd say 0.60%, 60%, and we had roughly 16 conversions here, and cost per conversion was roughly around the $30 mark. Okay, that's what we're looking at. All right, you got also conversion rates here as well, 1.22%. And the other thing I want to show you as well is the CPM. CPM was roughly at $26. Okay, so this is what we're comparing it with. This was literally simple. As I said, we were targeting, it's a normal structure, remarketing, excluding the remarketing list from the prospecting campaign. Like the traditional way you'd structure a campaign in Meta is how we structure this. We had some interest targeting and prospecting, and we had like one video in the prospecting campaign really. And like, that, I'll show you, right? So within the prospecting campaign, we had like one video, that was it. And then in the remarketing campaign, we kind of had different segments based off particular service visited on the website. And then, one ad for that. So this will probably be blank just because I can't show you the actual creative. But the point is it was just traditional setup. Okay. Now, with that in mind, then we launched in September. So from September to October, let's just say, or let's do 2 days, right? So September to November. Today, this is what we're dealing with, right? So basically, these are the new campaigns that were launched. Okay, so what we're zooming in on is we're zooming in on this conversion campaign. We don't care about this traffic campaign for now, right? So we're zooming in on this conversion campaign. I might come back to this traffic campaign in a second because I think it also plays a role in a strategy that I'm thinking about doing, and it seems to be working. But let's just focus on the conversion side of things first. Okay, so this scenario, you can see, first of all, cost per result is sitting at $10. It's ridiculous. Straight away, that's crazy. Right? $10 from $30 is an absurd improvement. Okay, so that's the first thing. The second thing is conversion rates are also slightly better at 3.87% compared to, I think it was around 2%. The click-through rates are quite similar. So click-through rates still sitting around 0.58%. The cost per click is cheaper at $3 compared to what it was at $4. Okay, so that's cool. But the biggest thing that I saw improve, right, is CPM. So CPM is sitting at $17, okay, compared to what it was like around 20 and a bit dollars. So the fact that we're reaching people at a cheaper cost is why we're getting more clicks and our CPCs are cheaper, right? Like that's pretty much what's happening. And let me just go back to what I'll do is I'll open the period up so we can compare it. So I'll go from June all the way until November, right? And we can compare the two, right? So the prospecting campaign specifically, you'll see like CPM $31, and then the CPM for this other prospecting one's $27 versus 17, right? And that's why CPCs are so much cheaper right across the board, which like is pretty crazy. Click-through rates, they're pretty comparable, but the conversion rate is actually a lot stronger, right? 4% versus around that 2% mark. So that's what we're working with. And like what I would say as well is once we click into this particular campaign, right, the way I'm approaching this Andromeda update is viewing assets as packs, not viewing creatives as competing creatives against each other, but basically the asset and all of, sorry, not the asset, the ad group and all of the creatives within that ad group, it's like a pack, it's a funnel essentially, and all those creatives are working together to achieve X result. You can't look at, okay, this creative is performing better, so let me pause this poor performing creative. You can't look at it like that anymore, because that poor performing creative may be operating as more of a top of funnel creative. That's why the cost per lead or cost per result isn't as good, because that's getting people through the door. And then the better performing creative is actually more of a bottom of funnel creative. And Meta is then using that as their own marketing ad, and it's converting those people. So you have to view it as a pack, as a funnel, right? And all the creatives will probably be blurred, as I said, but just to kind of show you in a way what that looks like is, um, if we sort by amount spent and we kind of start looking at a few things, you can see like, cost per clicks, right? So you kind of have to take my word for this. But basically, the cost per clicks, right? This first creative up here, it's a video creative. It's actually more of a top of funnel prospecting creative. Hey, this is who we are. This is what we do. Therefore, cost per clicks are the highest for this ad, because people, they're not really clicking through. They're just watching the ad and they're introduced to the actual business, right? And click-through rates aren't that strong. But then when you go to more of like a middle to bottom of funnel creative, right, which would be this particular video, which is actually highlighting a certain feature that this particular kind of business offers, right, you can see, oh, okay, well, click-through rates are a lot better and CPCs are significantly cheaper, and the cost per result is also a lot stronger. So in theory, and then if you go to amount spent, it's spent a lot less. Why? Because Meta is being selective and showing this particular creative to only those people who are now at the end of their buying journey. So if I went and I just paused this creative because I'm like, oh, this is a poor performing creative, and I want Meta to spend all of its money here, the entire ad group will see a drop in performance, because now Meta no longer has that top of funnel creative that's being served to actually introduce the brand, right? So it all works together, which is a really important concept that you need to kind of grasp in this scenario, because it is working. Like it's definitely working. The last thing that I'm going to just quickly discuss is, look, I think it's working, right? What I've also done is I've used this Andromeda structure. So the exact same structure, I've literally put the exact same creatives in this traffic campaign. The exact same creatives, right? And my theory, this is my theory, and like I think it's working, because I am seeing cheaper cost per website visitors. I'm also seeing, I think I showed this in another video, which I'll link in the description. Once I started running this traffic campaign, we saw a surge in people actually searching up this particular brand on Google based off Google Search Console results. I think this traffic campaign is playing a really big role in actually like introducing people to this particular brand. And I think these two campaigns are actually working together. And this is my theory, right? My theory is that, if you guys know how traffic campaigns work and conversion campaigns work, traffic campaigns go after people who are more at the beginning of the buying journey. They're not considered, people who are actually in market, and that's why the traffic is cheaper in a traffic campaign, because those people are not ready to convert today. Whereas conversion campaigns, those people are ready to convert today. So when you can start comparing CPMs, you can see CPMs here are significantly cheaper, all right? Because this traffic campaign, the people in that traffic campaign aren't considered warm in market people who are ready to convert today, right? So less people want that traffic, and Meta puts a cheaper cost to reach those people, right? As it would to sell more premium traffic in their eyes, which is the people that they categorize in the conversion campaign. Just because I think it is important to show it in this video, right? Because it makes sense, right? This is what I'm seeing, right? Since kind of launching that whole process from traffic as well as just the Andromeda update as a whole, I'm seeing more people actually search up this particular brand on Google, right? So we're just looking at the brand term according to Google Search Console, and you can see like around October, impressions are starting to increase, right? Like it's because of what we're doing in Meta, right? And I think that the traffic campaign and the conversion campaign, they go hand in hand, because at the end of the day, right? The 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 lead time in this industry is very long. All right, it's a B2B um, industry, and regardless, it would take months for someone to go from um, basically seeing us to inquiring, right? Because it's a very long buying journey. So I'd rather reach those people when they're not particularly like in market to convert today, but they will be eventually. So I want to reach them through a traffic campaign at the very beginning of their buying journey. I don't care if they're not going to convert today. I've reached them at a cheaper cost, and eventually when they're ready to convert, they'll know who we are, right? And I think that traffic campaign is actually fueling the conversion campaign, because it's like, okay, Meta now knows because it has signals on those people. They've gone from um, beginning of the buying journey to now kind of, middle to end, actually looking to convert with someone, and then they come into that conversion campaign, right, at a cheaper cost. That's my theory. I think it's working, at least when I've launched both of these together. Everything across the entire funnel seems to be performing better, from people searching up the brand, from organic search, everything. And I think it's working.